Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So when I was at the National, you never know what you're going to see at one of these things, and I came across a card that I've always really wanted to add to my collection, at least the athlete I wanted to add another card to because the 1933 Gaudi Sport King is really kind of a difficult card. And I am referring to the Babe Didrikson Zaharias card in that set. Obviously, I don't have that card. It's probably worth more than my 1984 Oldsmobile Shipbox Supreme at this point. I found a really interesting reason why she doesn't have too many cards out there. In fact, this is probably the only mainstream card that I'm aware of that she has during her athletic career. And she does actually have a few other cards overseas or across the pond, if you will. But other than that, that's it. And I always kind of wondered why she didn't have anything, being such a major star at the time in the late 1920s, 1930s, and the 1940s. And I think she passed away in 1954 or 56. And it's really too bad too. But she should actually have more cards than she does, and I think I found the reason why she doesn't. So this is going to be really interesting, and I hope you enjoy it. And stick around for the rest of it afterwards because I got some more commentary on this. This is from the Enid Daily Eagle, December 6, 1932, Enid, Oklahoma. Babe Didrikson may sue firm to regain status. New York, December 6th, AP. An enterprising bit of automobile advertising has deprived Mildred Babe Didrikson of her amateur status. The world's greatest woman athlete, as most authorities are agreed, was disqualified yesterday from further amateur competition because her name appeared in an advertisement booming the latest model of an automobile manufacturing concern. The next move, Dan Ferris, Secretary-Treasurer of the Amateur Athletic Union, made plain, is strictly up to Mildred. He pointed out that the advertisement in which Miss Didrikson was quoted in glowing praise of the new model was a palpable violation of AAU rules and automatically disbarred the Texas Star from amateur competition. Down at her home in Dallas, Miss Didrikson said it was all a big mistake. Quote, "I let this automobile company make a picture of me," she explained, "but I told them not to use it. They did so without my permission. I do not intend to turn professional before next summer. If then." Colonel M. J. McCombs, athletic director for the Dallas Insurance Company by which Miss Didrikson is employed, indicated a damage suit might be entered against the automobile concern. "Our main interest," he said, "is to get Babe reinstated. She not only tells me she did not give anyone permission to use her name, but says she has never seen the model car which she is quoted as praising. Apparently, a court suit is the only possible road leading to Miss Didrikson's reinstatement. As to that, Ferris had this to say: if she do not sanction the use of her name, she can prove it by bringing suit against the company for impairing her amateur status. If she wins her suit, the AAU immediately would reinstate her. On the face of things, we cannot believe she did not know her name was being used in the advertisement. Ignorance of AAU rules would not be a valid excuse. A star athlete ought to know the rules of amateurism." As it turns out, Babe Didrikson lost her job with the insurance company not long after this as well because she was AWOL. What she did was go and play, I think it was a golf tournament or a tennis tournament, and they terminated her. But this is actually something that is fairly common, in fact. And the first case that I'm aware of where somebody their image was used without their acknowledgement was the Abigail Robinson case from 1903, and that actually plays a big part in the T206 story when the T206 was first being formed in 1909. There was a series of laws which the American Lithograph Company had to follow, especially in New York City, which is where the Robinson case came from. It actually ended up being a privacy statute from 1903 that turned into the 1909 Copyright Act. And from there, we get the ball players having to sign their names if they wanted to be included into the T206 set. And a lot of ball players from that era, from the dead ball era, the 1910s, they didn't actually sign their names, so they're not really included in that set. And this is actually one of the reasons why, if he had wanted to, Honus Wagner could have made a very valid case to sue American Lithograph and American Tobacco Company for using his name or his likeness without his permission. This is where we also see Johnny Mize in 1941 sue Gum Products Inc. Because they use his likeness as well. I'm not entirely sure, and I don't think we're ever going to know how Johnny Mize came across his 1941 double play card. It could be that a kid kind of gave him the card to sign, but in any event, he did actually get the company to stop production, or the court to stop production on his card. And so, therefore, that card, and I'm not sure which one it is because he does have two cards in that set. My sneaking suspicion is that it's the one with Enos Slaughter on it, so it's his headshot. That would actually make a little bit more sense. The other card that he's in is kind of in the rare series, or the high number series, if you will, which are really more, I think, difficult to come across. So Johnny Mize did lose his case, and I actually did a pretty lengthy article on that specific card and company, and you can read that in your leisure at my website. I actually had a really fun time studying that case and the right of privacy, because this is something that it is very new when Honus Wagner first started uh, playing baseball in about 1897 or so. The right of privacy, the first mention of that is from 1900, and so you don't really have any lawsuits to go on for the courts, and there's nothing really there. So essentially, the right of privacy, when Honus Wagner told American Lithograph and American Tobacco Company to yank the card, um, he got very lucky because uh, there was nothing there for him to actually go on per se, except for the laws and the justices and the court systems. They didn't know how to go about this. There's another case from 1910 that the athlete Harry Porter, he lost his case, and he had the same exact case that Honus Wagner did, but he lost his case in court. One of the reasons why I think Abigail Robinson lost her case was because the court system didn't know how to proceed. It was brand new technology, photography that is, in 1903. I know it's been around since 1839, but at the same time, the court system really didn't know how to deal with this stuff. And again, there's nothing there for them to go on, right? So she did lose her case as well. And in the meantime, though, um, with Miss Didrikson, I don't know if she won her case or not, or if she even brought it to court. But again, it would be kind of interesting to see how that played out. And I can't find anything in the newspapers at the time. And one of the reasons why I think is because not every newspaper is digitized, and there are giant chunks of missing history, if you will, because of this. We don't have a timeline of newspapers or events. And this is also true with the hobby as well. We are missing a lot of history with the hobby, and where I can and am able to, I'm going to provide this stuff to you guys, because one of the things I've kind of noticed, even when I was a teenager and trying to learn more about the hobby, was that there were the founding members of the hobby, Jefferson Burdick and Lionel Carter and John D. Wagner. But the problem was that they had done a lot of writing and a lot of research into these sports cards, but they didn't necessarily pass on a lot of their knowledge, or their writing was lost, or just not around, not available for a kid like me to research and study and maybe build upon as well. And so that's also true with regular newspapers, the dead tree media, if you will. I think the digitization process has been really fantastic, but it's not 100%. So this is actually going to be maybe a lifelong process to try to fill in the missing gaps of either history, or the history of the hobby, or economics, or the businesses that surrounded the hobby, the ones that actually issued the cards, or the people who did this too. And some of these people are really not as well known, and they don't have a lot of information. You have to kind of sift through all of this, and maybe sometimes you can find a photograph as well, or a photograph of the building, or just other documentations. But this takes a long time. It's not a quick process at any stretch of the imagination. So I will try to do my best to get this information out to you guys. So how come Babe Didrikson Zaharias doesn't have a whole lot of cards? That's a really good question. I think that she just didn't want her image or her likeness on a card. I don't think that her amateur status would have prevented her from being on a card to begin with, unless the company paid her. But again, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either, um, because you do have, say, the 1910 T218 set that have athletes, or gold medal or silver medal or bronze medal athletes in the Olympics for, I believe, 1908, that are in that set. And so this is kind of a very interesting thing to me. The right of privacy is probably what kept her off of cards. It wouldn't have kept her off of a card from overseas. She might not have even known about a card from overseas with her likeness on it. And so, again, that's actually occurred with other sports players as well, going into the 1950s. And maybe even, I think, a football player from the late 1970s or early 80s, and I have to look more into that one. But again, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. If you have any thoughts, theories, comments, leave them in the comment section below. I always love to hear what you guys have to say, and have a good dialogue going. And until the next time, I will talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.